Michael John Burkett, better known as Fat Mike, is a legendary punk rock musician, songwriter, and producer. As the founder and frontman of the iconic band NOFX, Fat Mike has been a driving force in the punk scene for over 3 decades. Known for his irreverent lyrics, unapologetic views, and outspoken personality, he's become an influential figure in the punk rock community and beyond. Today, I have the privilege of sitting down with Fat Mike to discuss his life, career, and the future of punk rock.
Oh boy, that's a tall order.
Yeah.
4 decades, by the way. No effects. This is our fourth. It's our 40th year.
Did I manage to get that wrong? This
Over
this interview is over.
over 3 decades or something, but it is over 3 decades. You were right.
But only in the most technical way, and I hate that. Let's say this is and speaking of which, you guys are currently doing a farewell tour, which when I saw it, I kind of had a real it really was a knife in the heart because um War on Errorism of all the albums, that was the one that started me in high school as such an important album for me growing up. And I don't know, it's one of those things where you've had such a breadth of discography. Which are your favorite albums to play songs from?
Well, what's interesting is, I mean, all of them, but it's interesting you say that because I really feel like NoFX, since the early 90s, has been putting out quality records. You know, Warren Arism was one of our, like, what after a band does 3 or 4 records, people don't generally care that much. And we were really bad when we started. But Warren Arism was a really important record for us. It was the first NoFX record on Fat Records. It hit #1 in the independent charts in Billboard. And we never did that before. And it was our first, we'd always sung about politics, but it was our first real political statement. And yeah, it is an important record. But it's nice that a lot of people will pick 12 different records. This album was more important to them.
That's a
And
good thing, right?
it's a great thing. And one of my, it was so flattering to me, made me feel so wonderful, was when Single Album came out, which that came out about 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was a different NoFX album, but it got the best reviews we've ever gotten. And getting the best reviews this late in a career, pretty fucking awesome. It made me feel so good.
Yeah, 100%. And with that, this farewell tour, what have been the highlights so far that you guys have been? It's been a massive tour, so
Well, I know it will be a massive tour. We've only done, what we're doing is we're doing 40 cities, and it's over the next year and a half. We did our first one, which was Austin, Texas, and we did 2 nights, 80 different songs, and it was exactly how I had hoped. It was very emotional. We never practiced. We practiced for 6 days, in Austin, and to learn these songs, because a lot of these songs we've never played. And generally, the songs you don't play are the ones that are really hard.
Yeah.
So but we learned them all, and we played longer than we've ever played, and people were just so stoked, and lots of tears on the second night. And this is our farewell tour. Is it a cash grab? Well, I mean, we're making money because it's all our own venues that we found around the world, where they're not Live Nation, they're not AEG, they're campgrounds and they're parking lots, and we bring in our own stage. It's our merch, it's our bar. So it's like, and it wouldn't have made sense if it was just another tour, because we draw, our 2,000 or 2,500 people. But now, San Diego next weekend is 10,000 people sold out, which we don't draw those numbers. But because it's our last tour, it's not like we're charging a lot of money. It's just we own everything now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when the artist is cut in.
And it is our final tour. And what's so cool is that we get to say goodbye. in a meaningful way. And because a lot of these people have been coming to see us for 30 years or more. And it's our way to thank everybody by playing songs we've never played, by practicing. And what people should know is that this is not a Black Sabbath or a Motley Crue thing. This is our final tour.
So if you want to say bye, do it now. Now or never. And who are you most grateful to be saying goodbye alongside? I mean, I'm sure that you know certain fans in certain cities and you have for decades, but I'm wondering who are you, happy to be doing this with?
Uh, well, we've had our crew forever, for
Yeah.
decades. We're getting different bands. It's not like a tour with all the same bands. It's always different bands. Pennywise have been our bros for forever. They're on a lot of the shows. We just played with them, and we played with the Subhumans, who are one of our biggest influences and great guys, and the Circle Jerks. And every band we're friends with is going to be on one of the shows.
It's going to be like a who's who of punk and
Who's who of old punk? Some new bands like Meyer the band, the Codefendants, we're playing a lot of the shows.
And that's perfect segue actually, because I wanted to talk a bit about whether there's going to be a little bit of more of that front and foremost, because I know that that's your big new project. And having listened to it, I was really curious about what the genesis of this was.
Just Sam from Get Dead. I've been producing Get Dead records for a while, and we're dear friends. And he introduced me to Chesky. He goes, "I know you don't like hip hop, Mike, but this guy's really good." Because I don't like hip hop. I never have. I don't own one hip hop album. But I heard Chesky, and I heard like two songs they had. And then I said, would you guys be interested in having me produce? And both of them were like, fuck yeah. Because the last Get Dead record I produced did really well. And then after I was producing, they're like, "Mike, we just want you in the band." So, and I was really flattered. And I mean, because what I bring as a producer is really different than anyone I've ever met. And people don't know that. There's probably a few people that do it. I've never worked with anyone who does it. What I do, which is I change chord progressions and melody in a way that people don't really even notice. And in the Codefendants, especially, half the songs, when Chesky sings a verse, it's a different chord progression than when Sam sings a verse. So not only is it different voices, but the melodies kind of stay the same, but the chords change, and it makes it so much more interesting.
That
And the cool thing is, no one even notices ever.
I mean, guilty as charged. I'm like, wait a minute, how did?
Like Def Con, which is one of my songs, there's an 8-chord chromatic progression. You can't even hear it. It's what makes it catchy and
Right.
cool. And when you do a chromatic progression, there's usually one note that you can play with every chord. So that's what you hear, but the melody is really playing off the chords. Anyway, and in Disaster Scenes, there's 3 different singers, and every one of their choruses is on piano, and it's completely different. Like one of them, like there's most of them are in 4/4, and one of them is in 4/8. Yeah, the chords change faster, and
Wow. And
you don't even fucking notice it, but now you will.
yeah, this is going to be one of those things where I will not be able to not observe that from now on. But
No,
that's
and
cool.
all over the album like that.
And where does that come from? Is it knowing that when you experiment with things just a little bit differently, Is there a specific result you're looking for?
It's how I've been writing songs for fucking decades. You know, like that song "Eat the Meek," which is it's a popular NOFX song.
Yep.
Each verse has a 16 chord progression, and they're different each time. No one notices. That band Pepper covered it. They go, "What the fuck, dude? This is a reggae song. Why are there?" It's the hardest song we've ever had to learn. And you know, like me, that song, I fuck up that song more than any other song because it's
Yeah, for good reason.
changing.
Right. God damn.
So it's just like it's how I write songs. I also don't use choruses very often. You know, our biggest songs, there's no chorus. People don't realize that. Like Linoleum or Bob, there's no chorus.
I feel like this is one of those things where as a teenager you're like discussing it with people completely, you know, high as a kite, and you're like, man, did you notice?
No one notices we don't have choruses. I mean, every band in the world, they have choruses in their songs. It's 99% of the time, but I'm more of a storyteller, and I'm not going to tell the same story 4 times in the same fucking song.
Right.
That's what bands do to make their songs more memorable when you hear them once on the radio. But I'd rather people listen to my band 4 times more often.
Fair enough. And I think that you do have that impact on people. Just looking at the ability to connect with fans. I mean, no better example in my mind. And I'm from cheers. I'm from a small town Ontario, but I went to shows in Toronto, and it was because of She's Nubs that I discovered and learned about Talia from.
Tally, you know, she's going to be at my house after this interview.
Oh, serendipity, because I wasn't able to get like a proper face-to-face interview with her, but I just asked a couple questions about the Punk Rock Museum, which I guess that's as good of a segue as any. I wanted to see.
Before that, I'm doing Tally's record. We're finishing it today.
Is that why she's coming over?
Producing her album, yeah. And let me tell you, it's a pretty fucking cool ass album.
I'm so excited. Just because
no one's expecting it.
I wasn't aware that she was even like, oh man, because I looked up her, you do your research, right? You do your research.
I'll send you our first rough mix after this interview. So museum.
Very exciting. Yeah. Museum. My God. Where do I even, like, you've been all over the socials for this. It's been remarkable. I feel like you've been godfather of punk in many ways, but now godfather of the Punk Rock Museum in many ways.
Well, I mean, it was my idea. I bought the building. I moved to Vegas for it, even though Vegas doesn't like me. But it's now that my life has changed for the better so much since we finally opened, because so many people didn't believe in it and wanted me to fail. It's just how people are, you know, and the city took a long time and there was a lot of setbacks. But once we opened, it's such a magical place. Every single person leaves smiling and thankful and emotional. Because just like you said that you listened to Warren Arism in high school and it's like a touchstone for your life. There's a place in this museum where everyone was, oh my God, that was, I remember when I was 21 and this meant so much to me and holy shit. And people start tearing up, and because it's 5 decades of punk. It's not, 70s like most museums, right? It hits everybody. Like upstairs, we have some used stuff. I'm not used from the band they used. And you can play our guitars upstairs. You can play Tim Armstrong's Rand original Rancid Hollow Body. You can play my bass. You can play Joan Jett's guitar through our amps. Yeah. Pat Smear gave us his original Germs guitar, which you can play. We're getting Lemmy's bass and his rig.
What?
Yes.
Oh, I mean, I knew that you could play some rigs. Like I knew this. I was already aware, but like some names that you're telling me, I'm like, what?
We have
I
the Axe guitar. We have Chet from Wasted Youth. We have Wesley Willis's keyboard you can play. And we're getting more and more.
and that's
Because
the thing
now,
is like,
now it's open. People are like, oh, I wanted to be in. We have Norwood from Fishbone's bass. We have killer shit.
it's funny because I was speaking with Keith Morris last week, and I asked him about it, and I was like, "Did they approach you?" And he's like, "Yes, they did." And I won't lie, like I was a little hesitant and stuff, but now that it's out there, and first of all, that's a terrible impression of Keith, but secondly, it's funny though because it does show that I have seen this like outpouring now of support that now it has opened, and now it is absolutely receiving the acclaim all over because people were very serious about this. And it looks like, and this is a very important point, and I wanted to point to share with you, is that it seems that you picked really, really dedicated professional people for something that has historically been viewed as just kind of like not altogether very rebellious, but without a plan kind of thing. And a museum is such the opposite of that.
Right. It's funny because that's why people don't trust me. Like, oh, Fat Mike, he's fucking drunk and cokehead, and he never follows through on anything. He talks shit, and it's like, no, I do everything. I give it 100% to everything. It may not seem like that, but like when I started Fat Records, every single record I produced, I wanted every song to be great. And then years later at Fat, I'm like, all right, you guys are on your own now. No, I'm doing other stuff now, but I do like to start things and then kind of move on to something else, which is what I'm doing now. NoFX. I'm done with NoFX soon. Codefendants is my next big project, but I'm going to go into stand up and public speaking because I have.
Sorry, you're going to go into stand up?
I've been doing stand up, yeah, and
Wow.
but more importantly than that, I want to do TED Talks. I think that's where I can bring the most joy to the most people. So I got a pretty good grip on happiness and how to get there. And people don't. People have no fucking idea. They think it's funny, or one day, no, it's right here, you fucking idiots. You just have to be strong enough, or not strong enough. You can't be shy about it or a coward. You have to realize what really makes you happy in life. And then you get a job or you figure out how to make money so you can do this. Sometimes it's the job, but that's no. People think it's money. It's not. When I was in my van for 4.5 months when I was going to college, I was just as happy as I've ever been. It's about finding your happiness. So people go, well, you make people happy when you tour NoFX. Yeah, but I'm showing people happiness for an evening. I want to actually help people learn how to find their happiness so they're happy every day. I know it sounds hippy dippy or whatever, but I was a sex therapist. I studied sex therapy in college and social science, and I like to think I keep figuring out ways to make people joyful. And the museum is one way. And I'm going to go back. My heart is so full every day when I go there. I'm going to tell you a story. This just happened 3 days ago, and I'll send you a photo if you want to post it somewhere, because this was, for me, it was one of the most incredible days of my life. The Jewish Journal is doing a story on the museum. So I'm walking this reporter around, and these two Arabs, the first two Arabs that have been to the museum, I mean, they're probably Muslims or Arabs, but these guys are Saudis, and they have the checkerboard, the white and red checkerboard scarves on.
Right.
I'm like,
Yep.
Arabs, there's Arabs here. Hey, come over here. I'm doing an interview with the Jewish Journal. And came over, and they were like looking at each other, and it was, oh my God, it was amazing because his name was Omar, and his son's name was, Omar. They're in a band called Paint the Town Rad. And he's like, I had to bring my son to the punk rock museum. Now, so we're hanging, and then a Hasidic Jew walks in. He was fucking Hasid vicious. Okay. And with his wife, and she, they both had they're funny, they're big ass Yamahas on. And he had pious, those curly things on the side, but they were straight. Like, dude, you use hair straightener in your pious? And laugh, and I go, come meet the Arabs. And they did not want to meet because he's like hardcore. He's Hasidic.
Right.
And I was like, how about that Israel and Palestine problem? Huh? How about that? I go, wouldn't we been better off if after World War II, if the Jews got Bavaria? Wouldn't that be cool? Because instead of putting them in the desert surrounded by enemies, and everyone's like, even the Hasidic Jew was like, well, Israel is Holy Land, but yeah, Bavaria would have been pretty nice. So
wow.
Then it couldn't even get weirder. But Ricky Ercoli is he is a photographer that took photos in 77 to 87. And he'd never had his photos shown anywhere in his life. And his friend contacted us and we said, we'd be interested. Because, I mean, he's got these crazy pictures of Sid Vicious and Circle Jerks and just like GBH, like all these bands. And he was so poor. We had an opening for him. And he said, I was so poor, I could only afford one roll of film when Sid played at Max's. I only had one roll, so I had to make sure every photo counted.
Oh my God.
And he was like, and that's before I could figure out flash photography. Anyway, so he shows up with his gay leather cowboy daddy.
It just gets better. The story just keeps getting better. I love it.
The gays are here now. Gays, come meet the Arabs and the fucking Jews. And then I have a photo with all of us in there.
Do you actually? Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm going to send it to you. And then 10 minutes later, we're at the bar.
Yeah.
Everyone is talking about their favorite punk bands and how they got into music. And I was so emotional. It's like, we have fucking Arabs and Hasidic Jews talking about the one thing in the world they have in common.
Right. Damn.
And it hit me like, wow, because punk rock affected a lot of people, but what it did is it saved people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And it gave people who felt like they didn't have a place in this world, like they had a place.
Yeah.
And it was like, how could that happen? That one day in the 1.5 hour,
right,
all happened. And it was like, it was a sign from God, No, it wasn't. But it was one of the best things that I've ever seen. Seeing all these enemies,
right, in every other context,
talk about the one thing they had in common.
I mean, if you wrote it, somebody would tell you that's a bit on the nose, don't you think? But
right, yeah.
It
If it was a
actually,
movie, that would never happen. But
right.
but I have it here documented. And
Man,
the Jewish Journal, the reporter was there, recording it all on audio recording. But
right.
there's tons of pictures. I'll send you one.
That's
I mean, you can't
amazing.
make this shit up.
No, you really can't. Yeah, that's the part that like I mean, all of the best opinions that I have of punk, of hardcore, of all the things that it's done for me and it's done for others that I've seen, that is such a crystallization of everything all in this one like mise en scene, I guess you'd call it, like that snapshot, you know? Man,
And
that's a
also
great story.
the respect everybody had for each other. It's like, oh, we're not going to talk about our differences. We are in a church right now.
Hmm.
We are in the church of punk rock, which is what it is.
Hmm.
And people are so respectful. Like everyone is worried about, oh man, this place is going to get trashed. Some drunk punk rocker is going to do it. And I'm like, I don't think that's going to happen.
Hmm.
Sure, we have things behind glass, but in the guitar room where okay, the first day someone dropped my bass and something broke off it. But you know what? We fixed it.
Okay, so that's I mean that kind of says it all, doesn't it? At the same time, like things
Yeah.
get rough and tumble, but
Yeah.
there's
These
good
these all these
intentions.
guitars were on tour with us. They had to get
Yeah.
fixed all the time. And what I how I sold people on this, do you want this guitar to be in a closet or storage unit? Or do you want someone to play it and to change their life?
Mm,
I want to do this. Oh my God. I can play. I just got to play Tim Armstrong's Rancid guitar. That could be a life-defining moment. And not could it is
right.
not for me because I'm not left-handed, but you know, for all those Flanders out there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I definitely. That's that's the thing is with this, it seems like that combination of irreverence, authenticity, which has kind of been your mainstay, I would say.
Oh, I'm
Um,
if there's one thing you can call me is I'm authentic
yeah.
and irreverent. And you know what? People don't like that.
No, not generally. On either side of the polar opposites that we have now.
People don't like someone who is happy and and kind of and successful and
Mm, okay.
and and it's and people and joyful. When
Ooh,
people are
no, that's no
joyful,
good.
people look at that person and be like, what are they so fucking happy about? Who'd they fuck over? Oh no, it's you
Mm,
fuck people over. That's how you become joyful, dum dum.
right.
I mean, yeah, I talk shit about people because I think it's fun, but I've actually never done anything hurtful to anybody purposely.
Hmm.
I've hurt people,
Sure, but
never to actually hurt anybody. And I've never lied or cheated either, or taken revenge. That's part of the the thing about happiness
right.
is if you don't do anything bad to anybody, it's like half the battle.
I I kind of want to sign up for this religion, man. I'm into it. No, I no, I mean, I really do think that you're onto something with respect to being able to speak about it because there's another side to punk that you and I both very well know, which is not just self-destruction. I'm talking immolation, like absolute dunk the gasoline all over and just light it on fire. And there's that essence of punk that everyone knows about, but it's the truth is a lot more complicated than that. And I think that you are well placed, I think, to speak to why is it okay to be happy and how do you do that?
Right. And I know a lot of what I've gone through in my life. I wasn't free until I was 46. And I got these words tattooed on me, "Don't dream it, be it," from Rocky Horror, because they haunted me.
Mm.
Every time I heard that song, it's the first record I ever heard, and it meant so much to me. And I'd hear those lyrics, "Don't dream it, be it," and I think I'm a coward. I'm a coward because I'm not being who I want to be. I'm scared. And I was 46 when it was the last hurdle for me, which was cross dressing in public. And uh and it was I felt punk rock again. I was in Luxembourg, and I wore a pink slip down the street, and
Hmm.
I went to dinner at a very nice restaurant, and the waiters and everyone treated me very well. It's a nice restaurant,
Hmm.
and they treated me like people should treat people.
Right.
And I just learned that lesson. I'm like, huh, I can be whoever I want to be. And good people will treat me well. Bad people are always going to treat me bad.
Huh.
And, uh, and like someone I dated, they made me feel beautiful. Uh, it's kind of mean to bring this up, but it's not, I'm not being mean. But my first wife told me I look stupid in women's clothes. And it absolutely broke my heart. And we ended up breaking up soon after that, because
Hmm.
I'm like, oh, well, you'll never see me in anything again. And 6 months later, she's like, "Why don't you put on that maid's outfit?" I'm like, "Yeah, you tell me I look stupid.
Right.
I can't." So then, the next lady I was with, so snake oil, she's like, "You're beautiful, and I'm going to show you how beautiful you are." And she did. And what a gift.
Hmm.
And to make someone feel good about themselves. And it's just a win-win, making other people feel good about themselves. So that's why I'm public about it now. It's not like, oh, Fat Mike is trying to catch on with the trends, you know, cool factor right now. No. And what someone said about me is, I didn't transform you into anything. I revealed who you really are.
Mm.
And beautiful words.
Hmm. Yep.
This is why I think I should be doing more public speaking.
I honestly can't. I'm just like I'm struck because I'm actually seeing you've given this some thought, but also like again, authentic and genuine and reverent. And that's been your brand forever. But and I hate to say it, brand. Sorry, but that's been your medium, your mode, your way of
Well,
doing
that's how punk
things.
rock was what started out as, and it stopped doing that.
Mm,
Bands started singing. I mean, I'm not all bands, but it turned into more like, what do people want to hear? And I've always told,
what's the algorithm about? You know.
yeah, and I've always told people what they don't want to hear, but they should hear. And I like songs that touch 5% of the listeners, not 100%. But I want that song to touch people.
That'll be a fanatical 5%, though. Yeah, I
Oh,
see
well,
it.
that's why NOFX had such a wonderful career, and we've had so many loyal fans, and why I want to say goodbye to them.
Right. And you're doing it in a massive way.
I feel and that's why I want everyone to know how authentic this is. We're going to cities that have meant so much to us, and every time I say thank you so much for coming to see us over all the years, I just start crying
Yeah.
because I mean it. I'm
Yeah.
not doing Ozzy like, "I love you all,"
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean. Well, I'm hoping to catch you at one of those dates. I and I'm also really looking
I
forward to
can't.
seeing what I not that I can't.
I'll put you on the half price list.
I'll pay full price fully. I'll pay full price and a baby.
I'll get you on the backstage, the VIP shit.
I mean, that's I'm trying my best to accept gifts that are presented to me. So I am going to say thank you, Fat Mike, and I appreciate this offer and I will accept it, even though everything in me is saying, "Oh my God, don't do that." No, I massively appreciate that.
This is actually one of my favorite interviews. I think I'm kind of nailing it.
Yeah, you kind of are. Like massively. You've you've given like there's like god tier interviews and the, I wanted to say really it's been such a pleasure to speak with you because I know that we're like getting close to the end of the time and genuinely I really mean this like it's always really surreal to speak with someone who's like informed such a big part of a sonic landscape that I've had for since I was a kid. So thank you for that. And thank you for being so forthcoming and just real and genuine with me and with us. And we're so pleased that we got the opportunity to speak with you.
I have a question for you though. I've been thinking about for a while now.
Yeah.
What do you live in an octagon? You live in a fucking stop sign room.
Yeah,
What the
right.
fuck, dude? That's just
It's old converted manse, and now it's like we're gonna make 3 units out of it. Like, what are they gonna do to me?
nice. I mean, I'm
It's a
more
strange room.
like you live in a fucking beehive. I understand those are hexagons, but
Fair enough. Fair enough. Thank you. I really appreciate it, and all the best. And we look forward to your new releases coming up soon.